Hi, I'm Mark Furman. I'm a partner at Tarlow, Breed, Hart and Rogers. We're thrilled to be hosting On the Record. We represent business owners and love to hear from business owners about what's going on with their business. We also enjoy interviewing their advisors to help us represent our clients effectively.
Perfect. Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, special edition On the Record with Mark Furman from the law firm of Tarlow, Breed, Hart and Rogers. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Jeffrey. Great to be with you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And our next guest, someone we've been pursuing actively to get on Radio Entrepreneurs because of his topic area, David Rubinstein, President and COO, wow, you got a double title, of OptiRTC. And we're going to talk about stormwater, correct?
That is correct. Good morning, gentlemen. It's great to be here.
Tell us what Opti does and why Opti is so important.
Well, Opti is important for a lot of different reasons, and whether you want to believe in climate change or not, I like to say that we don't treat our planet like a toilet. And what Opti does is really help protect communities, improve water quality. So our core competency is the management and control of storm water. In dense urban environments, we have major problems with combined sewer overflow. There's 770 communities in the U.S. where if it rains more than 1/4 of an inch, you're going to overflow your wastewater treatment plants, and the only way to deal with the water is to let it go out into the wild. The Hudson River, the Gulf of Mexico, Boston Harbor, whatever the case may be.
So you're saying it's lost?
It's lost. Yeah, that water just gets sent out into the wild because the waste treatment plants get overwhelmed by it. So that's one such example. Another is flood control or flood mitigation, flood alerting, so that we can let communities know quickly that maybe a highway is going to get overwhelmed, and emergency response people need to know how to get around that. May need to do evacuation. Another major area is water quality, and the Chesapeake Bay region is a prime example. The Chesapeake Bay watershed, most people don't know, it comprises 7 states. It almost reaches up to the Great Lakes. So that water, as it percolates through the ground and eventually goes into the Chesapeake Bay, carries a lot of pollutants. I don't think people understand how much pollutants there are on top of impervious surfaces, highways, parking lots, roads. And when the rain comes, that all just washes away into the environment. Now, we do have ways of controlling it. You'll see at shopping centers, large retail complexes off of highways, you see these stormwater ponds. You probably drive by them and you don't even really notice them. But what Opti is able to do with the stormwater pond is maximize the use of that capacity. Allow the water to settle into the pond. The longer it sits, pollutants attach to dirt molecules, they go down into the earth chews them up. And then when you release the water out, it's a lot cleaner. That's a big effort that's going on in the Chesapeake Bay region. Now, traditionally, these stormwater ponds were what's called passive control. So they put a valve on it. Somebody in public works sees that it's too full. They drive out, they hand crank it and open it up. What Opti brings to the table is digital technology. It's a combination of cloud computing, 100% Microsoft Azure Cloud, along with Internet of Things devices, or IoT devices. And we put sensors out into the wild. So again, as a pond example, we put sensors into a pond that can measure nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, agricultural waste, other types of pollutants. We know how long the water's been there. And when we see a storm approaching, our software opens that valve up gradually so you don't have downstream erosion. And it allows the water out so when the next storm comes, we're able to fill that pond back up. So on average, we see about 60% more capacity usage in these ponds. And it's a much more effective way utilizing today's digital technologies. On top of that, we can measure everything and report it. So it helps with compliance reporting to the EPA. If you're constructing a store and you have to keep your eye on the storm water generated by overflows and whatnot within that retail area, during construction you have to report to Department of Environmental Quality or EPA. And again, our technology automates all of that for the construction developers. We've got a couple of test pilots going on through a very, very large national retailer, and the construction firms are coming back really excited about how much time and money that we're saving them. And what we love, what our purpose is to help clean up the environment and make our communities safer. So it's a win-win.
And it seems to me that you're saying, since you're using technology, that this is a money saver over, let's say, traditional technology, building a whole new water systems.
Well, it's dramatic savings. What we've seen in some instances, and depending on the jurisdiction, they measure it differently, but major metropolitan area may look at stormwater and say it's costing us about $3.50 to $4 a gallon to process. When you bring Opti's technology in, we're measuring it in dimes, nickels, and quarters. So dramatic savings.
Again, I'm going to go back to the politics. Usually
Yes.
people don't adapt new technology, use traditional technology, unless there's a major crisis that motivates them.
Right.
Are you finding it hard to sell something that seems so obvious to you?
It is difficult. I will say that we're seeing a lot of good uptake in what we'd call mid-tier cities in the U.S. We've had great success in Albany, Kansas City. They've won awards. They've been nationally recognized for what they do, primarily working with us, but also with other smart city components that they're bringing in. I think time is of the essence. These dense urban environments, we're seeing places in New Jersey where store owners are starting to put their own floodgates up in front of their buildings. Property values are going to start to drop more and more. So the difficult part is, because a lot of this is government procurement, you have to go through these RFP processes, and they can take 9 months, a year, sometimes 2 years. I think we have to move a little bit faster. I'd like to see the government bring in procurement practices similar to private industry, so that they're moving faster, they keep it competitive, and they're doing the right thing for their citizens.
So it does sound to me to be a very important political issue.
I think it is a very important political issue. And again, I'll say, whether you believe in climate change or not, we've got a problem. Nature continually evolves. We're seeing denser precipitation patterns. We're seeing flash flooding happen a lot faster, particularly on the eastern seaboard.
Now, you're recently to this position. I don't want to say recently, but you were not the original CEO of the company. You're a new CEO.
Correct.
Brought in as a professional leader. Can you talk about that transition, what it's been like for you? Because this is a show about entrepreneurship.
Sure. So this is my 9th venture-backed organization. I was contacted through a retained search back in August of 2017. I looked at what the company was doing. I was actually following the company for a couple of years because I heard about it and felt this is something I could get really passionate about. And I think I had the privilege to join the organization and work very closely with the founding CEO, Marcus Quigley. Tremendous thought leader who put all of this together about 8 years ago. Opti spun out of a civil engineering consulting firm, Geosyntec. And what I saw in the technology was just vast amounts of value in the data that we're collecting. So over the first year, I got an opportunity to really understand the company. I got out into the market, spoke with other engineering service firms. There was definitely confusion about who we are. A lot of people thought we were an engineering consulting firm. The reality is we need to have that aspect to our business, and we're morphing that into an organization that supports our partners, which are these engineering service firms. So through that first year, we really stabilized the operation, started to get our identity together, firm up our product roadmap and product strategy. And then moving into 2019, the board sat with both Marcus and I and talked about how the company's been performing and some of the changes they'd like to see being made. To Marcus's credit, he's worked very well through this transition with us. But he has elected to evaluate other opportunities in the market. I feel that he wants to get back into the consulting. He's a tremendous problem solver. What we're doing at Opti is we're building ourselves out as a digital product company.
Again, I'm going to go back to the entrepreneurship thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you've run a lot of companies.
Right.
I assume there's some culture change going on. Can you talk a little bit about how you're trying to remake the organization into the kind of winning championship team you want?
Yeah. Well, I like to have a very open, transparent organization. I like to be able to share the numbers with the people so that they understand the mechanics of the business. I don't want people to feel like they're just a billable entity. Especially in a startup, you have a unique opportunity to develop yourself professionally and stretch yourself into areas that you would never be able to do in larger corporations. And for me, that's part of my passion in paying it forward, is to helping develop other leaders. So we've implemented a series of leadership workshops. We now have an internal newsletter. We have monthly company meetings where we serve lunch for everybody. We just sit around and have some fun. We had a thumb wrestling contest, complete with uniforms and a ring. So we're injecting some fun. But what I love about this startup versus others that I've been in, they're not concerned about, do we have kegs or coffee makers or foosball tables? They get excited when we're solving challenges out in the environment. So when a hurricane's coming up the East Coast, we got it up on the big screen. We're looking at all the sites we service. And at the end of the day, people are high-fiving because we stopped flooding in Ormond Beach, Florida, or in Beckley, West Virginia, keeping a township open for 35,000 cars a day to go spend retail money in a small village.
That's great.
It means a lot to them.
Yeah.
So if
how
we-
many people
Sorry.
work for the company now?
So we have 26 people, and then we have some independent folks who work with us around the country.
So if we were going to do a call out before you go, to call out to certain people who might be interested in, let's say, who should be talking to you, who would that call out be to? Like all mayors of towns, you know.
Well, I would say if you're in the Department of Environmental Quality, if you are in environmental services, it can be at the state level, the county level, municipal levels, watershed authorities. We've put together a great package with the North Hudson Sewer Authority down in Hoboken, where all private land development over 10,000 square feet now has Opti valves on their cisterns, and that's significantly reducing their combined sewer overflow problems. If you're in communities where you're paying a stormwater tax, you want to have Opti come in and talk to your people.
Thank you very much. Everybody, we've been speaking with David Rubinstein, President, CEO, COO of OptiRTC. David, if someone wants to find you, how would they do that in the company?
Well, you can find us on the web at www.optirtc.com. We're located here in Boston in the Back Bay. We also have an office down in Philadelphia and a strong presence in Washington, D.C.
Not far from the law firm of Tarlow, Breedhart, and Rogers, our host for today. Thank you very much, Mark Furman. And thank you, David, for coming in. We hope you come back a lot this year.
I would love to.
We want to know more, and we want to track this as we go, especially Chris, who has his Washington political background, so he loves this stuff.
All right.
Remind everybody, this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we'll be right back after